weeks. But West Ham, my word, they were just abysmal, like you said, defensively terrible. Even going forward, like they don't seem very, very ruthless. They're toothless, quite the opposite, really. So Lopetegui, he's under some pressure now, hasn't he? And the fans, you can just hear their reaction. They're sort of running out of patience with him too. The board must be counting the games now until he has to turn it around. And the next couple of games in the league, we looked, didn't we, at the fixture list before we went recording this. And it's Leicester City and Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game, which is going to be difficult. It's a different proposition to the Leicester City of a couple of weeks ago, that's for sure. Who's the next one? And then it's Wolves. His old club, Wolves. I mean, it's laced with narrative. I mean, if that was the place he lost his job, imagine the poetic justice that Wolves fans would feel.
I mean, you wouldn't say that one would be probably a ball draw, would you? 0-0 ball draw. The amount of goals that they're both conceding at the minute, Wolves, well, you could be looking at 5-5 or even more, potentially. Watch it be 0-0 now.
Be great entertainment if it was 5-5, blimey. But yeah, you're right. It could. I don't know how that's going to go because both teams are terrible at the minute at the back, aren't they? We'll talk about Wolves in a moment, probably. But what have West Ham got to do, Dave? Because we talked about, again, we've said this a few times, how many players they've signed, what brilliant players they've got. Somerville, for the record, has got a brilliant disallowed goal as well in this game. So there's a bit of bad luck there on their part too. But defensively, their mistakes, they're being highlighted more and more by the better opposition they play against. And Arsenal were just ruthless, weren't they? And this is the Premier League. I mean, West Ham were aspiring to be like a top 8, top 6 team, and that's why they went with Lopetegui. So do you think it's a case of 1 game or 2 games before the board loses patience? Has he got to win against Leicester, for example, do you think?
I don't know whether it's just a matter of time before he needs to look at particularly that defence and the link between defence and midfield, and whether he needs to change something in there, because
something's got to change.
It's just, it's not happening for him. Even after the really positive result at St James's Park, which I think blew a lot of us away, to be honest. So we were fully expecting Newcastle to probably win that one. So they've shown they've got it in them. It's just they just lack some real consistency. And then let's be honest, going forward, they really do miss like Kudus when he's not playing as well. It's just such a gaping hole when he's not in that team. Everything revolves around him. I think he has struggled a little bit at times, but he's miles away their best player for me. So they do struggle, and he's just the focal point of that team going forward. So again, I do think there's something needs to change, and that something needs to change, particularly in that midfield. I think probably in that holding position, because teams are just finding it so easy to get through them. They're getting cut through at will, and it's not just the good teams that are scoring so many goals against them.
Yeah, abysmal from West Ham so far. Something's got to change, like you say.